All right. So just as a reminder, we are your digital coaches. I am Caitlin Bott. I am a Southwest Elementary digital coach. We have Matthew here as well. Matthew, what region are you in?
I'm Central Region Schools.
Awesome. And you guys have chosen to chat with us about strategy 1, real world application to content. So we're going to be focusing on applying our tools today and our strategies towards real world application. So I'm going to get started here. So overview, the importance of real world application to content. I think that as educators, we probably identify with that pretty significantly. So I just thought that we would start by grounding ourselves in why we're even here and talking about this. Applying that content to students' real lives helps them strengthen new neural pathways for them as a learner. Zaretta Hammond, who is the author of Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain, mentions that application can take the form of authentic practice that lets the learner rehearse using his or her new understanding and correct any misconception or weaknesses in understanding. So as we go through our strategy today and identifying the importance of that real world application, I want us to kind of ground ourselves back into this idea that, using these authentic practices that relate back to student knowledge and their own life experiences is going to be really helpful as we go through all of these tools today. All right, so next we are going to start this process by kind of grounding ourselves in that CRE connection. As Brian mentioned pretty briefly, we are looking at the CRE mindset focus of learning conditions today. So in this context, we are looking at several different, looking at a practice and several key action steps. So the practice that we're focusing on is providing students these authentic opportunities to explore and apply their learning within their context. So looking at what we talked about originally with Brian in our first group is presenting those tasks that have high cognitive demand and include multiple solution strategies and representations is going to allow our students to feel like they are authentically learning. Additionally, providing them with a variety of opportunities to authentically process information by relating it to their background knowledge and their previous experiences. So again, Zaretta Hammond is going to explain a little bit more about contextualizing content in this video. We can't hear it, Matthew, just so you know.
Attention, our brains don't pay attention. They just ignore things until it becomes relevant or important. So we want to get the brain's attention. That's our first order of business. This is where collectivism can be very powerful. How do kids start by talking about a subject? How can we use games and other things? How do we contextualize content in order to make it relevant so students' attention is captured? Not as a gimmick, but as a way to activate the schema. For example, if we're talking about the water cycle in biology, let's talk about the politics of water. Or another teacher was talking about percentages and mortgages and start to look at gentrification and what that process was like. So again, contextualizing it around some things that were relevant to students to make the content more relevant so the students' schema was activated. Another teacher got students' attention and situated learning by contextualizing the content in statistics. And they decided to look at statistics through game theory. So the idea is, how do we understand statistical thinking in relationship to games? And so she created this entry point in terms of actually talking about statistics. Students still had to do the math, right? Statistics didn't change, but she gave it a context. That's one way you can make things culturally responsive. Here's the thing I want to say about that. Making things culturally responsive doesn't mean that you always have to mention race and culture in every, lesson. But it is making it contextualized for students. We're going to talk about another way that you make things culturally responsive when it comes to instructional delivery. So that really is thinking about culture as a cognitive scaffold when you're thinking about culture as part of your instructional delivery. And this is where the elaboration comes in. I like to use the analogy of Cold Stone Ice Creamery. Many of us have been there. The idea is you go in and you pick your base, right? You pick the ice cream that you want. Well, this is the old knowledge. This is what students already know, or what we might call background knowledge. Then you're going to pick the goodies you want to be mixed in. Well, this is the new knowledge that you're offering in a lesson. And you're going to think about how do you get students to chew on it, to actually mix them together thoroughly. This is what the brain calls elaboration. So the goal in culturally responsive teaching is, how do we get students to do this level of chewing? What is it that we're doing, right? How are we offering instruction? How are we using cultural learning tools to help students do that?
Okay, so you've just seen a video on contextualizing content from Zaretta Hammonds. And what we want to take a look at
All right. So when we're grounding ourselves back in what she just mentioned, I thought that it was important that we kind of focus on how our students learn, or any individual learns, and why it's important to continue applying our actual learning to a real world, like in a real world context. So if you look here, within 20 minutes of learning something new, you only remember 60% of what you've learned. Within 24 hours, you may remember only 30%. But the important piece here is practicing within those 24 hours, followed by later practice. You remember 80% of what you learned. And this is really important, and why I wanted to kind of focus us before we go into our tools, because you have to think about when students are just being talked to, which we've all been there, but when they are just being talked to, that learning is in one ear and out the other. And so why we are focusing on today, applying it to our real world application and content, is it's important for us to be able to meet our students where they're at so that they remember what they're learning.
Awesome. So at this point, you're going to have an opportunity to make a decision. You can either move off to yourself and go through the content with the guides and templates and all-in-one documents and use your time to create a tool for a classroom resource using one of the tools. Or you can stay with us for a little bit, and we will be demonstrating the use of these different tools. And then you'll still have some time for creating your own classroom resource. So think a little bit about whether you want to stick around or if you'd like to jump out at this point. If you do jump out, you might want to copy the Meet link. And it's down in the lower right corner of slide 18 to return at Caitlin, we know what time they'll be returning?
At 11:05.
11:05. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
And I put in the all-in-one document links, and then I will also put in the Google Meet URL into the chat. But we would love, if you are working independently, you're welcome to turn off your screen and work independently, or leave the meeting. That's fine too. But we do ask that you come back so we can reflect together in that main Google Meet at 11:05.
Great. So let's go ahead and jump out if you're going to do that at this point. Otherwise, thanks for sticking around. All right, the first example we're going to be talking about is Pear Deck. And I'd like to let you know that the district does have a premium subscription to Pear Deck. So every teacher should have access to this. Please make sure that you have this. Let's see, you can't see that on mine. I'm going to change how I'm sharing here. Hang on just a second. All right, so you should be seeing my screen now. And what we're going to be looking at is Screencastify. And up in this upper right corner, you should have a light red arrow that's pointing off to the right. If you don't have that, you may want to look at the one that's the gray puzzle piece and make sure that you have pinned it to your bar up here. Students should be able to have those too. You can turn the visibility off or on for any of the extensions that you've got going up here. If there's something that you need to have, please make sure that your Screencastify is pinned so you've got easy access to it. So Screencastify allows you to record a browser tab, a desktop, or just the webcam. So students could use this, and yes, students have access to it. Students could use this to record and voice over something that they're doing on their computer. They could choose to show the entire screen of all the things that they're doing on their computer. You can also just use the webcam, or you can have the webcam show up in the corner of your face to help make that social emotional connection. But they could use just the webcam to take a picture or a video of what they are working on and voice over. Also, they have the choice of turning on the microphone or not. When you are ready to create a Screencastify video, you just hit the record button. You'll hear a brief countdown, and then I'll be recording. So hi, this is a Screencastify recording, and I'm going to make it very short, so I'm stopping it already. And there was my option down at the bottom of the screen. I can now review my recording. I can cut it if I want. I can add a voiceover to do it again. I have options for sharing. For example, I could create a QR code that allows other people, like parents at a back to school night, to be able to view a video. I can also just share this. I can save it down here to my Google Drive. It's in the lower right corner. And once it's there, it could be shared with the teacher, or in this case, teacher sharing it with students. So I'm going to show you a quick example of what that might look like. And it's here on slide 20. The video that I would like to show you is actually a student presenting a public service announcement, recording his public service announcement about how much he loves Chipotle. It also shows the other kids in the room doing the same kind of work at the same time. But we'll show you an example from the teacher's point of view. And that is this example here. I'm going to back it up a little bit. And let me change this so I'm not sharing the whole screen, but just this tab, because if I do it that way, I'm going to get some echo. So let me do this right. Stop presenting, present a tab. And we'll just show a little bit of this video so you get the idea.
Tempo, sometimes you'll need to use a metronome. So there are going to be many things that you would look for, and those are some of the basics, but as you become an advanced player, you'll look for other advanced problems to fix. So here are the rules. One person's going to play first. After they play, then you're going to give them one thing they did really well, and then you'll give them one suggestion to improve. We'll call that a next step. So right now we're going to demonstrate for you. Also, to answer your questions about do you need to have two of the same instrument in the video, no. You can just pick any friend, you can mix it up, it could always be the same person, but I would recommend that you mix it up a little bit, and that way you can learn about other instruments in the band or the orchestra.
Okay, so this is an opportunity where the teacher gave students some instructions and recorded that so that the students could go back to that at any time, whether they are in class or at home. This was actually done pre-pandemic. So this was a teacher who was working on creating some of her instructional materials in a modified flipped classroom approach, where the students were given activities that they would be doing at home and recording their results so the teacher could have access to them. The nice thing about Screencastify, or a nice thing about Screencastify, I'll go back to my whole screen again. So another nice thing about Screencastify is that there is an option under these 3 lines to look at the recordings that you've already made. You can change some of your options in terms of what tools you use. You have an editor, so you can go back in and edit any of your videos. But you also have this option called Submit. It looks a little bit like a paper airplane. When I click on that, it gives me the option to create an assignment. And when I click on this assignment, it gives me the choice of, do I want to use a screen or just the webcam only, screen only. I can choose what kind of recording I want my students to use. I'll go ahead and select screen and webcam recording. Under next, I have to give it a title. So we're going to call this one Real World. And the instructions are, tell me how this relates to your own experience. Okay, once I've given it a title and instructions, when I click on next, I can choose how to share this with my students. I can just send it out as a link so that it's anyone. I can change that to anyone in my organization, so it only allows people who are signed into a .NET account to be able to see this assignment. I can choose the privacy, whether they can't see anything that they've submitted. Sometimes it's better to not let students see what they've done because they go back and they re-record it and re-record it and re-record it. This prevents them from being able to go back and re-record that. It just gives them one shot and they get to do it right. You can also let them view their own video or even see all of the student videos. I'm going to just leave it as students cannot at this point. And I can also turn on or off email notifications so I know when something's been submitted. In the next window, here's my link. I can copy this. I can now share this out in an email or in a Seesaw account or in a Google Classroom or any way I want to make this available to students. If I preview this, this is what the students will be seeing. They'll see the title, see the instructions. They'll see the option to record. They'll need to record their entire screen or a window or just a tab. You have to select that. They may be prompted by Chrome to allow some of this, the webcam or the microphone. You get a nice little countdown. And this is a recording. It's recording right now. My camera is set to the wrong camera, so you're just seeing this little spinning circle in the lower right corner. When I hit stop recording, I get the option to start over or just submit after I've previewed it. And I'm done. So the students don't have to have access to Screencastify to do that work. They can do that through the link, or they can use the Screencastify extension to create their own recordings and share them with you that way. Any questions about that?
Go ahead, Kathleen.
Hey, I'm Casey. Matthew, I was wondering about like Google Slides putting in audio, because on a Chromebook, I'm just kind of confused. Could you use like recording audio and putting it into Google Slides has been an issue? Is Screencastify like, could you put in a Screencastify into each of those slides?
So Screencastify saves your videos that you create as a Google document. So they're in your Google Drive. So you could, for example, in the presentation that we're in now, let me go ahead and share that again. Keep jumping around onto what I'm sharing. Hope people aren't getting dizzy from that. I'm going to switch from my presentation mode to my edit mode. And I do that up here in the address bar, where it's the last slash and then it says present. If I change that to the word edit, then I'm back in editing mode for this document. And then at this point, I could insert audio or video. And at this point, I could choose my Google Drive for my source of my video.
Yeah, I don't see what you're doing. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought I was sharing the whole screen. Why not? Let me try that again. All right, so you should be seeing my whole screen at this point. Yeah. Yes, great. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm presenting to students is I just change this edit to the word present. Because what that allows me to do is to keep all of my other tabs available, even when this looks like a presentation, like a full screen. So I changed back to edit so that I have a presentation. I could spell it a little bit better though. Let me get back. Great. So on a slide, you can insert, and you have the option of audio or video. You seeing those drop downs?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So if I choose a video that's been saved by Screencastify to my Google Drive is an option to insert a video. So I could insert this directly from my Google Drive.
And is there a folder called Screencastify?
Yeah.
Okay.
Creates a folder for all of your videos.
All right.
Good question. Anybody else?
Go ahead, Jill.
Is Screencastify already on the Chromebooks, and can the students access that to pin it?
The answer to that is yes.
Go ahead, Matt.
This is pushed out by the district because we have a district subscription. So Screencastify should be available to those students, and they should see the little light red arrow. If they're not, they might want to check on which extensions are pinned. I think by default, it is a pinned extension.
Okay.
In fact, I think that's why it's showing over on my screen as light blue instead of dark blue, because I can't unpin it. I think because the district managed that way. Cool.
Jill, there shouldn't be a reason for this, but if for whatever reason your students do not see Screencastify as an option in that drop down from that puzzle piece, you can always go to their computers and add it through Chrome extensions as well. So it is probably just the process of pinning it is what they'll not be able to see it from.
Gotcha. That's what I was hoping not to do, is go through every single Chromebook to do that.
You shouldn't have to. Yeah, that's the hope. You might just have to show them how to pin it, but you shouldn't have to download it.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. And I believe I actually skipped over a slide all about Pear Deck. So I'm going to go back a slide. Magic of video, we can always just splice these backwards and do them the other way around. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at one of our slides. Let's see, let me get back to here. All right, so slide 19, which I conveniently walked right over the top of. Pear Deck is another example of a district-provided premium resource. So if you didn't know, you have Pear Deck as an option to add interactivity to your Google Slide presentations. I have an example of one that you can see as a student linked here on slide 19. And there are a number of templates that make this job a lot easier to add some interactivity to your presentations for your students. I would definitely recommend looking at the templates. There are a number of them that are available. The one that I have set up here is a short version of a PBS NewsHour collaboration with Pear Deck, and it's around a very topical piece of information right now, and that's COVID vaccination passports. So I'm going to go ahead and open this Pear Deck up as a student. I believe I don't have that one. I do. Here we go.
We can't see it, just so you know.
You can't see it because I didn't switch to this tab. All right. So as the teacher, this is what I'm going to see. I'm going to see my different presentations. Right now, I am presenting this in what's called a student paced mode. I could do this as a teacher paced though. So I could present this to the students and they would only see the slide that I want them to see at the time. Student paced, students can go through it at any pace they want to. I'm going to open that in a new tab and share it instead. This is what the student view looks like. It always starts out with the option to tell people how they're feeling, kind of a quick heat check in the classroom, temperature check. They can also skip that. And I was already on slide 5, sorry. So slide 1, it's just where they would be seeing the introductory information. Slide 2, some content that they would have to think about, sets the stage for slide 3. And that's the opportunity where the students have to decide how much they think how much people have an obligation or not to help others during a global pandemic. And this big purple dot is something they can drag and they can decide absolutely not, somewhere in the middle, a little bit of both, or all the way up to absolutely yes, we have special obligations. But what the teacher sees, and I'm going to flip that one back over. Here we go. And I want to present this tab instead. Awesome. As the teacher, I can see where people are putting that purple dot. So I can see several in here already. They're the teacher, when I'm presenting these, I don't see my student names in here. I see some random names like a penguin and a clownfish. But as the teacher, I can go back and see who actually responded in what way. But this drag and drop opportunity here allows me to know where people are and gives me some material for how the conversation might go. Why would somebody suggest that they are mostly yes, but not completely yes? What are they still hesitant about? What kinds of things are they yes about? What did they know? What did they think about when they needed something to be a little bit towards the no side? But I can do that in a confidential way that doesn't expose anybody to information that they don't want shared about their opinions about things. And then the last slide in here is a link to a video where the kids would go and hear something about the differences between equity and equality. I'm not going to actually show that video at this time, but you've seen the slides before where the three kids are looking over a fence to watch a baseball game. One's a tall student, one's a middle-sized student, one's a shorter student. And the difference between equality and equity is if it's equal, everybody gets the same boost up, and the shortest student still can't see over the fence. And if everybody's getting what they need rather than the same thing, then the tall student can still see over the fence, the middle student can see over, and the shortest student can also see, because we're looking at equity rather than equality. So Pear Deck is a great opportunity. I want to share this tab again real quickly, and I'm going to switch back from presentation mode to edit mode, because the way you access Pear Deck is as an add-on. It has its own special add-on, and it gives you a number of tools. Over here on the side, you can see that I've got an opportunity to add text. I can add a choice. I can add a number response. I can add a website. Can't quite see that. There we go. I can add an opportunity for students to draw on the screen, or I can use a draggable, which is what we did with the purple dot. I can also add audio to slides. And then when I start a lesson, I can choose if it's a teacher-paced lesson or a student-based lesson, and students can join this presentation and actually interact with it rather than just watching the text that's up on the screen. Questions about Pear Deck?
I'd say let's move on to our last strategy, or our last example, excuse me, in our strategy 1. And then you guys will have the opportunity also to practice with these tools as well. So we want to make sure that we give you enough time for that. This last example that we're going to go over is regarding Edpuzzle. For those of you that haven't used Edpuzzle before, it is a district website that we support. Edpuzzle allows for you to take videos, whether you have created the video using Screencastify, you're taking a video from YouTube or another digital platform, and you can actually add in questions, thought prompts for students along throughout the video. Not sure about you, but in regards to learning myself, I know that I can't just sit and watch a video and, gather all of that information, just like we talked about in that CRE connection at the beginning of our presentation, just the fact that I need to find a time to be practicing and thinking about it for it to actually stick with my new learning. So on here, you'll see on this slide, we're using Edpuzzle for us to create real world experiences in the classroom. So this example in particular is about animal adaptation. It is a virtual field trip for those of us that have been feeling, when we could not go to our actual field trips last year in particular. Virtual field trips really helped me and my students, and I know that they've probably helped you too. But when you are in this video, and Matthew will pull it up, it is 2 individuals discussing animal adaptations. And you will notice that as the video goes through, there are these little white dots at the bottom, and that is where we have put in different questions to allow for students to stop, think about their real life context, and think about how they can apply it to what they know from their own experiences. So as you watch through the video, at one portion, we'll just watch until we hit the first question, but a question will pop up for us. So Matthew, go ahead and play that.
Every form of life on Earth is a compilation of adaptations that have evolved over time. You can find adaptations pretty much anywhere you can find life on Earth, but it's easier to learn about them when they're up close. So for this month's adaptations field trip, we are going to get up close and personal with some of these amazing adaptations of life on Earth right here at Animal Wonders, Montana. On this field trip, we have a special guide that's going to lead us through. I am here with Jessie right now.
Hi guys, I'm Jessie. I'm the director of Animal Wonders. I like to do a lot of teaching with animals, and adaptations is my favorite topic. And what I tell the kids, a very simple description of it, is something an animal has or does that helps them survive.
Having it or
All right, so as you'll notice here, it buffers the video. We've watched a little excerpt to start, and then a question pops up exactly what she just stated, that an adaptation is something, an animal, and then the student gets to choose the best answer of their choice. One awesome feature of Edpuzzle is that you can rewatch the clip. So if we're zoning out, or let's hope they're not, but or they just need a reminder of what was just said, they can rewatch what was just stated. You can skip the question. Students will, at the end, you will be able to see who has skipped a question. I would recommend that students try their best, and then if they get it wrong, that might be a place for you to be able to go back and work with them on that topic or the question that you're trying to get at with that spot in the video. So this is a really great tool for students to have some ownership in understanding life examples, life context, really. And for this example in particular, this was a video that was pulled off of YouTube. It was actually also already created in the Edpuzzle discovery section. So there are a couple options. You can create a video yourself and create questions that go along with it. You can actually discover some of the videos that are already in here with questions already put in. At the very top of the video, when you are on a video, you can actually edit if somebody has questions that are already in the video. Right where Matthew's pointing, you can click the edit button and take out the questions that you think maybe won't apply to your students and what they need. You can also slice the video. I know that I cut this video down from like a 25-minute video into a 5-minute video. So there's really some awesome options here, especially for students to feel ownership in their learning. And in particular, I use this example to have them kind of create that real world experience when maybe they weren't able to actually have this experience last year. So Edpuzzle is an awesome example of a tool that you can use for that as well. I did link, there is also a link at the bottom of our slide deck for another virtual field trip. If you guys are interested, in just a few moments, we will give you some time to kind of workshop on your own, but it might be a great place for you to start if you, Matthew's linked it's a virtual field trip of the universe. So if that's content that you focus on, it would be really cool to take that YouTube video and kind of implement some of those questions that you might have throughout the video. Yes, go ahead.
Hey, could you just go back to where you had, you could look at what was already out there?
Yes, I'll do that. So this allows you to search by subject, by grade level, by country of origin, by where it's sourced, either on Edpuzzle hosted or YouTube.
Matthew, I can't see what you're doing.
Because I didn't share the tab. That was kind of silly.
That's the story of my life last year.
Right. So you can change, you can sort by specific subject, by specific grade level, by country of origin, or whether it's an Edpuzzle hosted or YouTube video.
So when I'm in Edpuzzle, it's under Discover.
Yeah.
We have access to all that, the community, the network.
Yes. Okay. If you're not seeing that, if you're not seeing my network and so on, you should be seeing this. If not, make sure you're signed into Edpuzzle with your .NET account, but it is another district provided resource for schools.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This is an easy way to get some great presentations without having to spend a lot of time, is take somebody else's work that's already been done, like photosynthesis, and just change it to the way you want it to look.
Right. That was one of the beautiful things about Seesaw. So.
Yeah.
And this is a great connection to Seesaw as well. Like, you would take a video, put in the questions, and put that link into your Seesaw as an assignment. And that's a phenomenal place for them to be able to get to this assignment. And Jill, I think that you were the one asking in regards to iPads. Edpuzzle in particular is a website. So you will just go to edpuzzle.com. The other apps that we were talking about, like Screencastify and Pear Deck. Pear Deck is an extension. You just put it from Google Slides, excuse me, and then Screencastify is an extension on your Google Chrome. So you might just need some help with getting those if those are not available. Are your students one-to-one iPads? Or are they? Or were you wondering?
No, I was going to. We're starting a new STEM program, and it would be great to have that have the iPads available. So
Yeah, there is an Edpuzzle app as well. Screencastify and Edpuzzle both have an app available, but you probably want to work with
Zane.
Zane and Watch to get it pushed out to your iPads.
And they're the Chromebooks also that you should be receiving potentially if they're for younger grades. They might not be, but Chromebooks that are new this year are touchscreen as well, so they can be flipped like a tablet.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a picture of the app if you want to put it on an iPad.
So you said that this is a website. It's not necessarily an app.
It is an app. Sorry,
okay.
that's to clarify. It is a web page. Both Screencastify and Edpuzzle are websites, but there are also companion apps for iPhones, Android, iPads.
And it's already been loaded onto the district Chromebooks?
Yes, the addition to Screencastify is Edpuzzle is I don't think that Edpuzzle is pushed out by the district.
No, that's what I was saying. Yeah, Edpuzzle is not like pushed out onto your Chromebook or your teacher computer or account yet, which is why I was saying I use it as a web page instead of an app. You can use it if you have any like Mac options to add it as an app, but Screencastify explicitly was pushed out to your Google Chrome account.
All right. And then could you show me how you would send the link in Seesaw or Google Classroom?
Yeah, sure. Let me grab this example real quick.
Overtaking the space.
Yeah, so we'll use this Edpuzzle
right.
That we already did.
I can't see what you're doing.
I know, I'm trying to find one that would be the right one to share. Here we go. So when I'm in this Edpuzzle, I'm in a preview right now as the teacher. I'm seeing all of the questions, and I could go in and edit this.
Right.
I could change the settings so that they can't skip or anything. But when I'm ready, what I want to do is I would assign this. And if I'm working in Schoology, there's an Edpuzzle assignment that you can use that goes directly. You don't even do this part. But if you have, for example, a Google Classroom, this is where you would add that. You can add a class and add your kids. But for purposes of using Seesaw, what I would do is, let's see, let me think about this for a second. I believe I would still want to use the assignment. And I would want a class, so I'd need to add a class. There's my Google Classroom. I know it says Clever, but I've never seen a teacher who's set it up that way, or just creating a new class. And I'll do this real quick. CRE module 2 description, this class. Grade level, let's say it's a second grade class. It's not really important that it has a grade level, but it just assigns one by default. You could use it with any grade level. It doesn't have to have a subject, but we'll leave it. A classic type is the default. I recommend using that. Open just leaves it open for other people to be joining it. And now that I'm creating a class,
Is this class in Edpuzzle or is it?
This is a class in Edpuzzle, yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now that I've added this, I have this class, I want to assign it now to this class. And when I click on assign, now I can share this assignment and it gives me a link. I don't know if you can see the link or not.
Yeah.
The window that popped up. But it gives me an option to embed the code or do an assignment link.
Okay.
I haven't tried to embed the code on a Seesaw, but I know that you can embed some things on Seesaw. It's probably easier just to grab the assignment link.
Truthfully, I haven't been using Seesaw like I was last year.
Sure.
I've moved back to Google Classroom, just
right.
I have comfort, you know.
Yeah, so there was that direct connection to add a Google Classroom directly into Edpuzzle, so kids are signed right in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, well, I guess we've got about 20 minutes, 19 minutes now of independent time to work on creating a classroom resource. Caitlin and I will be hanging out here in case you have questions to pop back in. Otherwise, come back and join us at 11:05.
I have a question. It's not about any of the things you talked about.
Yeah.
I was wondering about land school.
Uh-huh.
I know just as a control freak teacher, I know that they've done some upgrades